Stardust and I, a romance sleep story presented by Bedtime Stories. Make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath. And now, let the story begin. Elara lived for the night. Not in the way some people chased midnight revelry, but in the hush that descended after sunset, when the world quieted its incessant chatter and the heavens began to whisper their ancient secrets. Her home, a charmingly eccentric cottage nestled on the highest hill overlooking the sleepy village of Oakhaven, was perfectly situated for her singular passion, stargazing. The cottage itself was a testament to her unique spirit. Its walls, painted a calming shade of periwinkle blue, were adorned with constellations she painted herself, glowing phosphorescent pathways across the ceilings of every room. Telescopes of varying sizes stood sentinel by nearly every window, and her small, cluttered office was a sanctuary of astronomical charts, dusty tomes on celestial mechanics, and a collection of meteorite fragments she'd lovingly polished. She even named her cat, a fluffy ginger tabby with eyes like molten gold, Orion. Elara wasn't an astrophysicist, not in the traditional sense. She hadn't pursued a PhD or worked at a renowned observatory. Instead, she was a self-taught skyweaver, a custodian of the dark. Her family had owned the land for generations, and her grandmother, a woman as wise as she was whimsical, had instilled in Elara a profound reverence for the cosmos. When Oakhaven was designated a dark sky preserve, Elara had transformed her cottage into a small bespoke guest house, the Stellar Sanctuary, a haven for those seeking respite from light pollution and a chance to reconnect with the vastness above. Most of her guests were fellow enthusiasts, camera-wielding astrophotographers, or couples on romantic getaways seeking a unique experience. Elara loved sharing her knowledge, pointing out nebulae with the practiced ease of someone navigating their own backyard, explaining the life cycle of a star, or telling ancient myths woven into the fabric of the constellations. She made a killer-spiced apple cider, perfect for chilly nights spent under the open sky, and her homemade oat cookies were legendary. One blustery October afternoon, just as the leaves were turning the surrounding forests into a riot of fiery golds and deep crimsons, a booking arrived that piqued her interest. It wasn't through her usual channels, but a direct email, terse and to the point. Seeking quiet retreat, excellent dark skies a must. 1 week. Liam O'Connell. No mention of telescopes or photography, just quiet and dark skies. Intrigued, Elara confirmed the booking. Liam O'Connell. The name sounded solid, dependable, a little like a sturdy oak tree. The day of his arrival dawned crisp and clear, promising a spectacular night for viewing. Elara spent the morning baking a fresh loaf of sourdough and preparing the lunar room her coziest guest suite, with its deep window seat perfect for reading and a direct view of the eastern sky. She hummed a little tune as she plumped pillows and arranged a small vase of dried lavender, a scent she found calming. Just as the sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of soft peach and rose, a dark blue Land Rover crunched up the gravel driveway. Elara, wiping flour from her hands on her apron, stepped onto the porch. A man unfolded himself from the driver's seat, tall and broad-shouldered, with a quiet strength in his posture. He had a mop of dark, slightly unruly hair and eyes the color of a stormy sea. His expression was serious, almost weary, but not unkind. He carried a single worn leather duffel bag, looking like a man who traveled light, but perhaps carried a heavy load within. "Mr. O'Connell?" Elara offered, her voice soft, a pleasant counterpoint to the rustling leaves. He nodded, a faint smile touching his lips, softening the angles of his face. "Please, call me Liam." His voice was a low rumble, surprisingly gentle. "And you must be Elara." "That's me," she confirmed, extending a hand. His grip was firm, warm. "Welcome to the Stellar Sanctuary, Liam. I hope you'll find the quiet you're looking for." He looked around, taking in the picturesque cottage, the sprawling garden, and then, slowly, his gaze lifted to the vast expanse of the sky, where the first pinpricks of light were beginning to emerge. A sigh, almost imperceptible, escaped him. "I think I might," he murmured, more to himself than to her. Elara led him inside, showing him to the lunar room. "Dinner will be ready in an hour if you'd like to join me." Otherwise, there's a small kitchen if you prefer your own space. She always offered this option, understanding that some guests truly sought solitude. Dinner sounds good, he said, setting his bag down. He ran a hand over the smooth wood of the window seat. This is lovely, Alara. Thank you. Left alone, Alara found herself curiously pondering Liam O'Connell. He wasn't her usual guest. No excited inquiries about the Dobsonian telescope, no fumbling with camera lenses. Just a quiet man seeking quiet. Perhaps he was an artist, or a writer, in search of inspiration. Or perhaps, simply, a soul in need of solace. As she chopped vegetables for a hearty lentil stew, she found her thoughts drifting to him. She pictured him sitting by the window, watching the last vestiges of daylight fade, perhaps lost in thought. There was a certain vulnerability in his quietness, a sense that he was holding something back, guarding a corner of himself. It stirred a gentle curiosity within her, a desire to understand what brought him to her starlit haven. When he joined her in the cozy dining room, the aroma of rosemary and thyme filling the air, he seemed a little more relaxed. He had changed into a soft gray sweater that made him look less formidable, more approachable. His eyes, though still carrying a shadow, held a flicker of warmth as he took in the flickering candlelight and the inviting table set for two. "Smells incredible," he complimented, taking a seat opposite her. "It's just a simple stew, but it's warming," Alara replied, serving him a generous portion. "So, Liam, what brings you to Oakhaven? If you don't mind me asking, of course." She tried to keep her tone light, conversational, not prying. He hesitated, stirring his spoon through the stew. "I'm an architect," he began, his voice a little rougher now. "Lately, I've been feeling stuck, burnt out, I suppose. My designs have lost their spark. I needed to get away, clear my head. A friend recommended a place with truly dark skies, said it might help me see things differently." He offered a wry, self-deprecating smile. "Sounds a bit cliché, I know." Alara chuckled softly. "Not at all. There's a profound truth to it. When you spend enough time under a truly dark sky, the sheer scale of everything tends to put your own worries into perspective. The universe is a wonderful cure for feeling small, but also for feeling overwhelmed." She met his gaze, a quiet understanding passing between them. "And this is certainly the place for dark skies. Tonight promises to be exceptional. The moon is just a sliver, and there's not a cloud in sight." Liam looked at her, a genuine spark of interest in his eyes. "You clearly love it here." "I do," she affirmed, a warmth spreading through her. "It's more than just a place to live. It's a part of who I am. I grew up here, learning the constellations from my grandmother. She used to say the stars were the stitches holding the fabric of the universe together, and each one held a wish." "A wish?" he repeated, a hint of wonder in his voice. "Yes, she believed that if you spoke your wish to a star, truly spoke it from your heart, and then watched that star until it twinkled just for you, it would find its way to the cosmic currents and eventually, when the time was right, be granted." Alara smiled, a nostalgic quality in her expression. "A bit whimsical, perhaps, but I've always found comfort in the idea." Liam was quiet for a moment, contemplating her words. "I haven't made a wish in a very long time," he confessed, his gaze distant. "Perhaps I've forgotten how." "It's like riding a bicycle," Alara said gently. "You never truly forget. You just need to find the right path, or in this case, the right star." They talked for a while longer, the conversation flowing easily between them. Alara told him about the history of Oakhaven, the local folklore, and her various stargazing adventures. Liam, in turn, shared snippets of his life as an architect, his passion for creating spaces that felt both beautiful and functional, and the frustration he felt at his current creative block. He spoke with a quiet intensity that belied his earlier weariness, and Alara found herself drawn to the depth of his thoughts. As the last remnants of stew were cleared away, Alara glanced out the window. The sky had deepened to an inky black, dotted with a million diamond chips. "The show is about to begin," she announced, her voice alight with anticipation. "Would you like to join me at the observatory deck? I can point out some of the highlights." Liam's face brightened. "I'd like that very much, Alara." She led him to the small, circular deck behind the cottage, where her largest telescope, a magnificent Dobsonian reflector she'd named Cosmo, stood ready. The air was crisp and cool, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. Above them, the Milky Way stretched across the sky like a shimmering river of light, a breathtaking spectacle that always made Alara's heart swell. "Wow," Liam breathed, stopping dead in his tracks, his head tilted back. "I've seen city stars, of course, and even some from more rural areas, but nothing like this. It's overwhelming." "In the best way, I hope," Alara murmured, adjusting Cosmos slightly. "It always reminds me how small we are, but also how connected to everything." She gestured to the familiar constellations. "Over there you have Orion, unmistakable, and if you follow his belt, you'll find Sirius, the brightest star in our night sky, and just above it, the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, a beautiful open cluster." Liam listened intently as she spoke, his eyes scanning the heavens. He seemed to absorb every word, every detail, a quiet awe replacing the weariness she'd first observed. Alara found herself enjoying his reaction, the fresh perspective he brought to something so familiar to her. It was like seeing the stars again for the first time, through his eyes. "What's that faint fuzzy patch?" he asked, pointing towards a hazy glow. "Ah, that's the Andromeda Galaxy," Alara explained, her voice full of reverence. "Our nearest galactic neighbor. It's on a collision course with our Milky Way, though we're talking billions of years from now. Imagine two galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars destined to merge." Liam was silent for a long moment, lost in the immensity of the thought. "It puts my architectural dilemmas into perspective, all right," he finally said, a soft laugh escaping him. "A collision of galaxies makes a building's foundation seem rather trivial." Alara smiled. "It's all about scale, but even the smallest detail in a building can be as significant as a distant galaxy to the person experiencing it. Everything has its place, its beauty." She paused, then gestured to the telescope. "Would you like to take a look through Cosmo? I've got it pointed at the Andromeda Galaxy right now." He approached the telescope with a hesitant reverence, bending to peer into the eyepiece. Alara watched his face, illuminated by the faint glow of the distant galaxy. His eyes widened and a gasp, soft and involuntary, escaped him. He stayed there for a long time, utterly absorbed, his shoulders relaxing, the tension visibly draining from him. When he finally straightened up, his face was alight with a wonder she hadn't seen before. "That's incredible, Alara. Truly incredible. It's like looking into another universe, seeing all those countless stars. I can almost feel the distance, the sheer unimaginable scale." He turned to her, his eyes shining. "Thank you for sharing this." "It's my pleasure, Liam," she said, her heart feeling a little lighter. "It's why I do this, to help people see the magic." They spent another hour under the stars, Alara pointing out more constellations, explaining the mythology behind them, and Liam asking questions, his initial reserve melting away with each passing minute. He was curious, intelligent, and surprisingly open once he felt comfortable. He told her about his childhood, growing up in a bustling city, far from such pristine dark skies. He spoke of a quiet longing he'd always had for something more, something elemental, which he now realized might be found in the vastness above. As the chill in the air deepened, Alara suggested they head inside for a cup of her famous spiced apple cider. They settled by the crackling fire in the living room, mugs warming their hands, the scent of cinnamon and cloves filling the cozy space. "I feel lighter," Liam confessed, gazing into the flames. "Like a weight has been lifted, even just for a little while." "This was exactly what I needed, Alara. More than I knew." "The stars have a way of doing that," she replied softly. "They remind us that even in our darkest moments, there's always light, always hope, always something bigger than ourselves." He turned to her, a genuine, unburdened smile gracing his lips. "You're a remarkable woman, Alara, and this place, it's truly special." Her cheeks flushed slightly at his sincere compliment. "Thank you, Liam. I've tried to make it a place of peace and wonder." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the only sounds the crackle of the fire and the soft hoot of an owl outside. Alara found herself enjoying his presence, the quiet strength he exuded, the thoughtful way he absorbed the world around him. There was an honesty about him that she found refreshing. As the hour grew late, Liam finally rose. "I should let you get some rest. Thank you again, Alara, for a wonderful evening. Of course, Liam. Sleep well, and perhaps tonight you might dream of galaxies. She winked playfully. He smiled, a genuine, full smile that transformed his face, chasing away the last vestiges of weariness. Perhaps I will. Good night, Alara. After he retired to the lunar room, Alara lingered by the window, gazing up at the starlit sky. A gentle warmth bloomed in her chest. Liam O'Connell was a puzzle, a quiet storm of a man who had arrived seeking solitude, but seemed to have found something more in the vastness of the cosmos. And perhaps, she mused, something more in the quiet company of a sky weaver. The days that followed settled into a comfortable rhythm. Liam spent his mornings sketching in his room or wandering the quiet paths around the cottage, often returning with a handful of interesting leaves or a curiously shaped stone. He was always quiet, respectful of her space, but never aloof. He joined her for meals and their conversations grew deeper, more personal. He spoke of his parents, both academics, who had encouraged his practical pursuits but perhaps overlooked his artistic leanings. He talked about his frustration with the increasingly commercial nature of his work, how he yearned to design buildings that connected people to their environment, that felt organic and soulful, rather than just impressive glass and steel structures. Alara listened, truly listened, offering insights from her own perspective. She shared stories of her grandmother, of the simple wisdom she imparted, and how Alara had learned to find beauty and meaning in the natural world and the universe beyond. She found herself opening up to him in ways she hadn't to other guests, sharing her own quiet dreams and her occasional fears about whether her niche little guest house could truly thrive. One afternoon, Liam found her in her office, poring over old astronomical charts. "What are you working on?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe, a faint smile on his lips. "Just trying to pinpoint the best viewing window for the Perseids meteor shower next summer," she explained, looking up, her glasses perched on her nose. "It's always a spectacular event, and I like to be prepared for my guests." He came closer, studying the intricate charts. "It's beautiful, like a complex piece of art, all these lines and symbols." "They tell stories," Alara replied, tracing a finger over a constellation. "Stories of ancient gods and heroes, of cosmic dance and stellar evolution." "You have such a passion for this," he observed, his gaze softening as he looked at her. "It's inspiring, Alara, to see someone so completely devoted to something, so utterly in tune with it." She felt a blush creep up her neck. "It's easy to be passionate when your subject is the entire universe. But not everyone sees it. Not everyone feels it the way you do," Liam countered, his voice earnest. "You have a gift for making others see it too." He paused, then picked up a small polished meteorite from her desk. "Do you ever feel lonely here? So far removed from everything?" Alara considered his question. "Sometimes, especially on cloudy nights when the sky is hidden. But then I remember all the stars are still there, just waiting. And I have Orion," she gestured to the ginger cat curled contentedly on a pile of charts. "And the occasional wonderful guest, like yourself." He met her gaze, and for a moment, the air crackled with an unspoken something. His eyes held a depth of understanding that surprised her, a silent acknowledgement of the quiet vulnerability she rarely showed. "I think you bring the light, Alara," he said softly, even on cloudy nights. The compliment hung in the air, warm and comforting. Alara felt a flutter in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery oranges and purples, Alara found Liam sketching on the porch swing. He was drawing the cottage, but not just the bricks and mortar. He was capturing the way the light fell on the ancient oak tree beside it, the subtle curve of the roofline, the feeling of warmth emanating from its windows. "That's beautiful, Liam," she said, peering over his shoulder. "You really capture its essence." He looked up, a faint smile on his lips. "It's a wonderful subject. It feels alive." He then looked at her, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I was thinking, Alara, I have a favor to ask. Would you be willing to take me on a proper stargazing hike, away from the deck, maybe to that clearing I saw higher up the hill? I want to experience it from a different perspective, feel more connected to the land." Alara's heart gave a little leap. "I'd love to, Liam. There's a perfect spot, A little rock outcrop where my grandmother used to take me. It has an incredible panoramic view. We'd need to go after dinner, once it's completely dark. Perfect, he said, his eyes alight with anticipation. I'll pack some water, and maybe some of your legendary oat cookies? She laughed, a genuine, joyful sound. Consider it done. As they packed their small backpacks later that evening, thermos of hot chocolate, a blanket, her trusty star charts, and a flashlight with a red filter, Alara felt a sense of excitement bubbling within her. This wasn't just a guide and a guest anymore. This felt like an adventure shared between two people who were discovering a quiet camaraderie, a gentle pull towards understanding each other more deeply. The hike up the winding path was invigorating. The air was crisp, and the scent of pine needles mingled with the earthy smell of damp soil. Liam walked beside her, his presence comforting and solid. He helped her navigate a tricky patch of roots, his hand briefly touching her arm, sending a jolt of warmth through her. When they reached the clearing, it was even more spectacular than Alara had remembered. The world stretched out below them, a tapestry of dark hills and twinkling village lights, but above, the sky was a breathtaking canvas of infinite stars. The Milky Way was a luminous band, brighter and more detailed than from the observatory deck. Liam let out a slow, reverent breath. This is beyond words, Alara. He spread the blanket, and they settled down, side by side, looking up. Alara pointed out constellations, told him stories of their origins, and explained the science behind the shimmering nebulae. Liam listened, his gaze fixed on the heavens, a profound sense of peace settling over him. He asked questions, thoughtful and insightful, demonstrating a deeper appreciation than she'd expected. Remember what you said about making a wish? Liam asked softly, after a long silence, his voice barely a whisper in the vastness. Yes, Alara replied, her heart fluttering. I think I might be ready to try, he confessed, turning his head slightly to look at her. His eyes, in the faint starlight, seemed to hold a newfound hope. I don't know what to wish for exactly, or which star to choose. Alara smiled gently. Don't overthink it, Liam. Look up, find the star that calls to you, the one that seems to twinkle just for you. And when you do, close your eyes, feel your heart, and let the wish come to you. The universe knows what you need, even if you don't yet. He turned his gaze back to the sky, searching. Alara watched him, a tender warmth spreading through her chest. She saw the concentration on his face, the earnestness in his posture. He was truly trying. After a few minutes, he pointed a finger, a hesitant gesture. That one, he whispered, just above Orion's shoulder. It's so bright but not glaring. It feels steady. Alara followed his gaze. It was a beautiful star, vibrant and unwavering. A good choice, she affirmed. Now, close your eyes. Liam closed his eyes, a deep breath filling his lungs. Alara watched him, a quiet hope blooming in her own heart. She wondered what wish he was making, what silent longing he was entrusting to the cosmos. And in that moment, under the vast, silent canvas of the universe, she felt a connection to him that was profound and undeniable, a thread of starlight weaving between their souls. He opened his eyes, a soft, almost vulnerable expression on his face. He looked at her, and his smile was radiant, full of a quiet joy. Thank you, Alara, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I really needed that. She reached out, her hand gently touching his arm. Sometimes all it takes is a little stardust and a quiet wish. He didn't pull away. Instead, his fingers brushed hers, a tentative, warm contact. They sat there for a long time, sharing the warmth of the blanket, the comfort of their proximity, and the silent grandeur of the universe. Alara felt a sense of contentment she hadn't known she was missing. The stars truly had a way of bringing people together, of illuminating not just the cosmos, but the hidden corners of the heart. And as Liam turned to her again, his eyes reflecting the starlight, Alara realized that perhaps, just perhaps, her own wish was beginning to take shape, unspoken, but deeply felt, under the vast watchful eye of the universe. The silence stretched, not awkward, but pregnant with unspoken words, with the very air thrumming with a nascent possibility. Liam's gaze was soft, yet incredibly potent, a quiet invitation that Alara felt deep in her chest, a warmth spreading outwards. Her heart, which had been steadily beating, now gave a little flutter, a nervous but exhilarating tremor. She found herself unable to look away, lost in the depths of his starlit eyes, seeing reflected there not just the distant cosmos, but a growing understanding, a shared moment that felt profoundly intimate. He shifted imperceptibly, his knee brushing hers under the shared blanket, a small spark of contact that sent a shiver down her spine, not from the cold, but from the sudden delightful awareness of his proximity. A faint smile touched his lips, a gentle curve that eased the intensity of his gaze just enough to make it less overwhelming, more approachable. "It's breathtaking, isn't it?" he murmured, his voice a low rumble that resonated through the quiet night. He wasn't looking at the stars anymore. His eyes were solely on her, as if she were the most captivating constellation in the sky. Elara's breath hitched. She managed a small nod, her voice seemingly lost somewhere in the vastness of space. "It truly is," she finally whispered, the words feeling inadequate to describe the beauty surrounding them and the burgeoning beauty within her heart. A moment passed, charged with electricity. Then Liam raised a hand, slowly, deliberately. Elara's eyes widened slightly, her gaze fixed on his approaching fingers. He didn't touch her face or her hair, but instead, with a feather-light touch, he gently adjusted the blanket around her shoulders, pulling it a fraction higher, a simple gesture of care that spoke volumes. His fingers brushed against her neck, sending a jolt of warmth through her. It was fleeting, innocent, yet profoundly impactful. "You must be freezing," he said, his voice laced with concern, a soft chuckle escaping him. "We've been out here for hours." The spell was gently, lovingly broken. Elara felt a blush creep up her cheeks, grateful for the dim light that likely concealed it. "Maybe just a little," she admitted, her voice still a little breathless. She hadn't noticed the cold until he mentioned it, so absorbed had she been in the celestial ballet above, and the magnetic presence beside her. "Come on," Liam said, a thoughtful expression on his face as he began to gather the telescope's components. "Let's get you somewhere warm." He didn't rush, his movements precise and unhurried, allowing Elara a moment to compose herself, to let the lingering magic of the moment settle within her. She watched him, the way his strong hands deftly handled the equipment, the way his brow furrowed in concentration. There was a quiet competence about Liam that she found deeply appealing. When he was done, he folded the blanket, handing it to her. Their fingers brushed again, a spark igniting once more, a silent acknowledgement of the connection that had been forged under the stars. As they began to walk back towards the ship's entrance, the crunch of their boots on the icy deck the only sound, Elara found herself walking closer to him than before. The vastness of the night felt less intimidating now, more like a benevolent observer of their shared secret. The chill wind, which had felt crisp and invigorating earlier, now seemed to whisper promises of warmth and companionship. "Thank you, Liam," she said, her voice soft in the quiet night, "for showing me all of this. It was extraordinary." He turned his head, a genuine smile gracing his features. "My pleasure, Elara, truly. It's not often I find someone who appreciates the cosmos quite as much as I do." His eyes twinkled. "Or perhaps even more, given your passion for all things growing." Elara laughed, a light, melodic sound that seemed to chase away the last vestiges of the night's chill. "They're not so different, you know," she mused, looking up at the retreating stars. "The way everything fits together, the delicate balance of life, whether it's a tiny sprout fighting for light, or a galaxy spinning silently through the void." Liam nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. "I've never quite thought of it that way, but you're right. It's all interconnected. A grand cosmic ecosystem." He paused, then added, "You have a beautiful way of seeing things, Elara." His compliment warmed her more than the thick blanket ever could. They reached the airlock, and the familiar hiss of the door opening felt like a gentle transition back into the enclosed world of the Stardust Wanderer. Inside, the ship was quiet, most of the crew asleep, the soft hum of its engines a comforting lullaby. They walked down the deserted corridors, the silence broken only by their footsteps. The air was warmer here, scented faintly with the ship's recycled air and the lingering aroma of the day's meals. Elara felt a strange reluctance to reach her cabin, a desire to prolong the evening, to hold onto the delicate thread of connection that had woven itself between them. Finally, they arrived at her door. She stopped, turning to face him. He stood tall before her, his hands tucked casually into his pockets, his gaze steady and warm. "Well," Alara began, a little unsure how to end the night gracefully. "Good night, Liam." "Good night, Alara," he replied, his voice a low caress. He didn't move, and neither did she. The air between them seemed to hum with unspoken words, with the echo of shared starlight. His eyes held hers for a long moment, a silent conversation passing between them that transcended mere pleasantries. Then, with a hesitant smile, he took a small step closer. I really enjoyed tonight," he said, his voice a little softer now. "More than I can say." Alara felt her cheeks flush again. "Me too," she breathed, her gaze dropping for a fleeting second before meeting his again. "It was perfect." He seemed to want to say more, his lips parting slightly, but then he simply nodded, a gentle, knowing smile playing on his lips. "Sleep well, Alara." "You too, Liam." She watched him turn and walk away, his silhouette disappearing around the bend in the corridor. Only when he was completely out of sight did Alara finally allow herself to breathe out a long, shaky sigh. Her fingers went to her neck, where his had brushed, a phantom warmth lingering there. With a dreamy smile, she unlocked her cabin door and stepped inside. The small space, usually a sanctuary of calm, now felt vibrant, infused with the afterglow of the evening. She shed her outer layers, moving with a lightness she hadn't felt in years. As she prepared for bed, her mind replayed every moment: the shared blanket, the gentle conversation, his intense gaze, the feather-light touch. She realized with a startling clarity that her heart felt lighter, more open, than it had in a very long time. The quiet solitude she usually cherished now felt less like peace and more like an absence. She wanted to share moments like these, to explore the world and the cosmos with someone. With Liam. Liam, for his part, walked back to his own cabin with a spring in his step, a rare, profound sense of contentment settling over him. He found himself replaying Alara's laugh, the way her eyes sparkling when she talked about plants, the earnestness in her voice when she described the interconnectedness of life. He'd shown countless people the wonders of the night sky, but with Alara, it had been different. It felt like a shared revelation, not just an observation. He'd never met anyone who combined such scientific curiosity with such a poetic soul. She was a breath of fresh air, a vibrant splash of green in the muted hues of his usual world. He fell asleep with a contented smile, the image of her starlit face imprinted behind his eyelids. The next morning, Alara woke with a sense of anticipation she hadn't felt since she was a child. The ship's gentle hum was a comforting serenade, and the artificial light filtering into her cabin seemed brighter, more promising. She dressed with care, choosing a soft emerald green tunic that subtly echoed the vibrancy of her botanical domain. As she made her way to the mess hall for breakfast, her eyes instinctively scanned the room. She spotted Liam at his usual table, a datapad open beside his half-eaten breakfast. He looked up just as she entered, and their eyes met across the bustling room. A slow, warm smile spread across his face, mirrored instantly by her own. He gave a small, almost imperceptible nod, a private greeting that sent a thrill through her. She filled her tray, and, feeling a boldness she hadn't expected, made her way towards his table. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, her voice a little brighter than usual. Liam's smile widened. "Please, Alara, I was hoping you would." He gestured to the empty seat opposite him. As she sat down, the comfortable silence from the previous night seemed to settle between them again, only now it was infused with the light of day and the gentle hum of shared companionship. "Sleep well?" he asked, taking a sip of his coffee. "Like a dream," Alara admitted, a soft laugh escaping her. "The stars certainly have a way of calming the mind." She paused and added, "Thank you again, Liam. It really was one of the most memorable evenings I've had in a long time." "The pleasure was all mine," he insisted, his gaze warm. "Though I suspect your plants will be a little jealous of the attention you gave the cosmos last night." Alara chuckled. "Oh, they're used to it. They know I always come back." She took a bite of her toast. "What's on your schedule today? More celestial mapping? Liam sighed good-naturedly. Always. We're entering a new sector, and the stellar cartography needs a complete overhaul. Lots of uncharted territory, which is exciting, but also a lot of meticulous work. He gestured vaguely with his fork. And you? Are your botanical wonders thriving? They are, Elara confirmed, her eyes lighting up. I've got a new batch of Solarian sunpetal seedlings that are just about ready for propagation. They're notoriously tricky, but if I can get them to root, they'll provide a fantastic oxygen boost for the ship. Solarian sun petals, Liam mused, a thoughtful look on his face. Are those the ones that absorb ambient starlight for photosynthesis? Elara blinked, surprised. Yes, exactly. How did you know? I might have done a little research, he admitted, a faint blush dusting his cheeks. After our conversation the other day, I was curious. It's fascinating, the way they interact with light. There's a particular spectrum they seem to thrive on, isn't there? A specific wavelength of stellar radiation. Elara was genuinely impressed. You've really looked into it. Yes, it's quite specific. It's why they're so hard to cultivate in a closed environment like a spaceship. We have to filter the ship's light to mimic their natural star's output, and even then, it's a delicate balance. Perhaps I could help, Liam offered, his eyes sparkling with an idea. My cartography equipment is capable of extremely precise light spectrum analysis. If we could pinpoint the exact optimal wavelength for your sun petals, we might be able to replicate it more accurately, even enhance the ship's internal lighting in your botanical labs. Elara's eyes widened. Liam, that would be incredible. I've been struggling to get the perfect balance. Standard ship sensors are good, but they're not designed for such nuanced biological needs. Her heart fluttered with excitement, both for her plants and for the prospect of working closely with him. Are you serious? You'd really be willing to dedicate some of your precious charting time to my greenery? He grinned, a genuine open smile that made her feel warm all over. Anything for the Stardust Wanderer's oxygen supply? He joked, though his gaze held a deeper meaning. And besides, he added, leaning forward slightly, his voice dropping to a more conspiratorial tone, I'm genuinely intrigued. The intersection of botany and stellar physics, it's a whole new frontier. It certainly is, Elara agreed, a thrill running through her. How about this afternoon? I can show you the sun petals and we can discuss the specifics of what I need. Perfect, Liam said, his eyes bright. Meet me in Botanical Lab B after lunch? Say, 1300 hours? Sounds wonderful, Elara replied, feeling a surge of happiness. The day, which had already seemed promising, now felt truly extraordinary. This wasn't just a chance to further her botanical research. It was an opportunity to spend more time with Liam, to explore this nascent connection that felt so right, so natural. The hours between breakfast and their scheduled meeting seemed to crawl by. Elara found herself humming as she went about her morning tasks, tending to her other plant specimens, her mind buzzing with ideas for the sun petals and the anticipation of seeing Liam again. She even found herself tidying her lab with a little more care than usual, wanting to present her botanical domain in its best light. Exactly at 1300 hours, Liam arrived at Botanical Lab B, a small, vibrant space filled with the lush greenery of Elara's experiments. The air was rich with the scent of damp earth and exotic blossoms, a stark contrast to the sterile, recycled air of the rest of the ship. Wow, Liam breathed, stepping inside. It's like a whole other world in here, a living, breathing world. His eyes scanned the shelves, taking in the myriad forms of alien flora. Elara smiled, her heart swelling with pride. Welcome to my sanctuary. These are my children, my silent companions. She gestured towards a row of delicate pale green seedlings under a specialized light panel. And these are the Solarian sun petals. Liam approached the seedlings, his movements gentle and respectful. He peered closely at the tiny plants, his expression one of pure fascination. They're so fragile looking, he murmured. And yet, they're designed to harness the power of a star. Precisely, Elara explained, a hint of passion in her voice. They're from a binary star system where the light conditions are constantly shifting. They've evolved to be incredibly efficient at capturing and converting specific wavelengths, My challenge is to replicate that dynamic environment as closely as possible within the static conditions of the ship. Liam pulled out a small handheld device, sleek and metallic. Let's see what we're working with. He began to scan the light panel, and then the plants themselves, a concentrated frown on his face. The ship's emitters are good, but they're broadcasting across a wider spectrum than these little guys prefer. We're losing a lot of energy that way, and potentially stressing the plants with extraneous light. He spent the next hour meticulously analyzing the data, explaining his findings to Alara in clear, concise terms, translating complex stellar physics into something she, as a botanist, could readily understand. Alara listened intently, her admiration for his intellect growing with every explanation. He wasn't just smart, he was patient, articulate, and genuinely excited by the problem. So, if we can narrow the output to precisely this wavelength, Liam pointed to a specific peak on his datapad's graph, and perhaps modulate it slightly, mimicking the natural fluctuations of their home system, we could significantly improve their growth rate and overall health. That's brilliant, Liam, Alara exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. I've been trying to achieve that modulation with botanical timers, but it's been guesswork. Your data would make it precise, scientific. It'll take a bit of programming on my end, he said, tapping away at his datapad. And then we'll need to reconfigure the light emitters in this lab. It's doable, though. I can integrate the data directly into your environmental controls. You'd do all that? Alara asked, genuinely touched. It sounds like a significant amount of work. Liam met her gaze, his expression soft. It's important work, Alara, and I enjoy a good challenge. Besides, he added, a playful glint in his eyes, I'm curious to see if my stellar expertise can truly make your flowers bloom. They spent the rest of the afternoon collaborating, discussing light spectra, nutrient delivery systems, and the fascinating ways in which plants adapt to alien suns. The hours flew by, filled with stimulating conversation and the comfortable rhythm of shared purpose. Alara found herself effortlessly bouncing ideas off Liam, and he, in turn, listened with an attentiveness that made her feel truly heard. There was a synergy between them, a delightful blend of their two distinct scientific fields. As the ship's internal clock chimed, signaling the end of the standard workday, Liam began to pack up his equipment. I think I have enough data for now, he said. I'll start working on the programming tonight. We can test the new settings tomorrow if you're free. I'd love that, Alara replied, a genuine smile on her face. Thank you, Liam. Truly, this is a game changer for my research. He smiled back, a warmth emanating from him that filled the small lab. Anytime, Alara. I'm glad I could help. He paused at the door, his gaze lingering on her. You know, he began, a thoughtful expression on his face. It's not often I get to apply my work to something so alive. It's usually just numbers and charts. This is a nice change. Alara's heart swelled. Well, I think your numbers and charts are making a very real difference to life on this ship, and to these little guys. She gestured to the sun petals. He chuckled softly. Perhaps. Good night, Alara. Good night, Liam. That evening, Alara found herself unable to focus on anything but Liam. The way his brow furrowed in concentration, the patient way he explained complex concepts, the genuine enthusiasm in his eyes when he talked about the cosmos, it all painted a picture of a man who was not only brilliant, but also kind and deeply passionate. The scientific collaboration had blurred seamlessly into something more personal, a shared experience that deepened their connection far beyond the mere intellectual. The next day, their meeting in Botanical Lab B felt less like a formal scientific session and more like a comfortable continuation of their budding friendship. Liam had spent the night coding, and with a few swift adjustments he integrated his new light program into Alara's environmental controls. As the new, precisely filtered and modulated light bathed the Solarian sun petals, Alara watched with bated breath. Within minutes, she noticed a subtle shift. The tiny leaves seemed to unfurl a fraction more, their pale green taking on a healthier, more vibrant hue. It was a minuscule change, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye, but to Alara it was a profound testament to Liam's work. It's working, she whispered, a wave of emotion washing over her. Oh, Liam, it's really working. Liam stood beside her, a quiet satisfaction on his face. The spectral analysis was accurate then, they're responding beautifully. He glanced at her, a shared triumph in his eyes. You have a true gift for nurturing life, Elara. And you have a gift for understanding the universe that sustains it, she replied, turning to him, her heart full. In that moment, surrounded by the quiet hum of the lab and the gentle glow of the new light, their connection felt palpable. They spent the rest of the day observing the sun petals, making minor tweaks, and simply enjoying each other's company. They talked about their pasts, Elara sharing stories of growing up on a lush, biodiverse research station, Liam recounting his fascination with astronomy from an early age, stargazing from his urban childhood bedroom window. They discovered shared values, a mutual respect for the natural world, whether terrestrial or cosmic, and a quiet ambition to understand its mysteries. As the day drew to a close, a comfortable familiarity had settled between them. Liam helped Elara tidy up the lab, and as they walked out, he turned to her. Elara, he began, a slight hesitation in his voice. I know we've been working together, but I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner with me tonight, not as colleagues, but just us. There's a quiet little observation deck on Deck 7 that has a nice view of the nebula we're passing through. Elara's heart gave a hopeful leap. This was it, the natural progression she'd been yearning for. I'd love that, Liam, she said, her smile radiant. What time? Say 1900 hours? I'll meet you there. Perfect, she confirmed, a warm glow spreading through her. The evening was everything Elara hoped for and more. The observation deck on Deck 7 was indeed quiet, bathed in the soft ethereal glow of a distant nebula. Liam had brought a small, carefully prepared meal from the galley. Nutrient paste, disguised as gourmet cuisine, and a surprisingly delicious synthetic wine. He'd even managed to procure a small bouquet of vibrant, hardy space-grown flowers, a thoughtful gesture that touched Elara deeply. They talked for hours, the nebula outside their window painting the scene in hues of violet and rose. They spoke of their dreams, their fears, their hopes for the future. Elara confessed her occasional loneliness on long voyages, her longing for a deeper connection beyond scientific pursuits. Liam, in turn, shared his own quiet struggles with the isolation that often accompanied his intense focus on the impersonal vastness of space. Sometimes, he admitted, his voice soft, when you're mapping galaxies, it's easy to feel incredibly small, incredibly alone. But then you meet someone, and suddenly the universe feels a little less daunting, a little more welcoming. His gaze met hers across the small table, and the unspoken words hung in the air, sweet and resonant. Elara felt a lump form in her throat. His honesty, his vulnerability, pulled at her heartstrings. I know exactly what I mean, she whispered, her own voice thick with emotion. My plants are wonderful companions, but they can't quite talk back. A soft laugh escaped her. It's different having someone to share the wonder with. He reached across the table, his hand gently covering hers. His touch was warm, reassuring, sending a cascade of pleasant shivers through her. Elara, he began, his thumb tracing a soft pattern on the back of her hand. I feel like I've known you longer than these few days. There's a comfort in being with you, a quiet joy. Elara's breath caught. She squeezed his hand gently in return. I feel it too, Liam, more than comfort. It's like I found a missing piece I didn't even realize was gone. Her eyes, glistening with unshed tears, met his. You make the universe feel brighter. Liam's smile was tender, his eyes reflecting the soft glow of the nebula. He leaned slightly closer, his gaze dropping to her lips for a fleeting moment before returning to her eyes. The air between them crackled with an unspoken longing, a beautiful, delicate tension. Can I walk you back to your cabin? He asked, his voice a little rougher now, filled with a gentle yearning. Elara simply nodded, unable to articulate the depth of her feelings. As they rose, Liam didn't release her hand, their fingers remaining intertwined as they made their way out of the observation deck and into the quiet corridors of the Stardust Wanderer. The walk back to her cabin felt like a journey through a dream. Their hands remained clasped, a silent promise exchanged between them. The ship felt less like a vessel traversing the cold vacuum of space, and more like a cozy home, warmed by the burgeoning love between them. Each step brought them closer to her door, and with it, a gentle thrum of anticipation. When they finally arrived, they stopped, turning to face each other. Liam's hand gently cupped her cheek, his thumb brushing softly against her skin. His touch was electric, sending warmth through her entire being. He leaned in, slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, but Alara found herself leaning into his touch, her eyes fluttering closed as their lips met. It was a soft, tender kiss, full of unspoken affection and burgeoning hope. It tasted of synthetic wine and starlight, of shared dreams and newfound connection. It was a kiss that promised more, a gentle beginning to what felt like a truly extraordinary journey. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathless, their eyes shining. "Alara," Liam whispered, his voice husky. "You are incredible." Alara could only smile, a joyous, radiant smile that felt like it encompassed the entire universe. She reached up, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "And you, Liam," she murmured, "are truly out of this world." They stood there for a long moment, simply gazing at each other, lost in the quiet magic of the moment. The ship's gentle hum was a distant backdrop to the thumping of their hearts. The universe outside continued its silent, majestic dance, but for Alara and Liam, their universe had narrowed to just the two of them, standing on the threshold of something beautiful and new. The stars, which had first brought them together, now seemed to twinkle with a knowing approval, silently charting the course of their blossoming love. Liam eventually stepped back, a reluctant smile on his face. "I should let you get some rest," he said, though his eyes clearly wished otherwise. "You too," Alara replied, her voice soft and dreamy. He leaned in once more, placing a soft kiss on her forehead. "Good night, my stargazer." "Good night, my cartographer," she whispered back. As she watched him walk away, Alara's heart felt lighter than it ever had. She touched her lips, still tingling from his kiss, a silent testament to the magic of the evening. Stepping into her cabin, she looked around, and somehow, even the familiar plants seemed to glow a little brighter. She knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her soul, that this was just the beginning. The Stardust wandering was on a long journey, and now, so were they, together. The cosmos beckoned, and for the first time in a long time, Alara felt truly ready to explore it, hand in hand with Liam, her heart full of hope, and a love as boundless as the universe itself. The scent of blooming noctiflora, a soft, sweet perfume unique to her cabin, filled Alara's senses as she drifted off to sleep. Her dreams were a kaleidoscope of starlight and laughter, a gentle prelude to the dawn. The next morning, Alara woke to the soft hum of the ship and the gentle glow of the cabin's window, which now displayed the tranquil swirling blues and purples of a distant nebula. She stretched, a smile playing on her lips, a lightness in her chest she hadn't felt in years. Slipping on a comfortable robe, she tidied her hair, a sense of anticipation bubbling within her. Just as she was about to step out, a gentle chime echoed through the cabin. Liam stood at her door, a small beaming smile on his face, holding a tray. "Good morning, Alara. I thought perhaps breakfast might be better enjoyed with company and a view." On the tray were 2 steaming mugs of nutrient-rich coffee, a plate of fluffy synthetic pastries, and a small, perfectly ripe bioluminescent fruit glowing softly like a tiny star. "Liam, you didn't have to," she said, her heart doing a little flutter. "I wanted to," he replied, stepping in as she opened the door wider. He set the tray down on her small table, pulling up a second chair. "Besides, I figured after last night, you might need a little extra energy for today's adventures." His eyes twinkled with a playful warmth that made her blush. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment, the nebula outside painting their faces in ethereal hues. "It's beautiful," Alara murmured, gesturing to the view. "It is," Liam agreed, but his gaze was fixed on her, making her heart skip. "But not as beautiful as the sunrise in your eyes." Alara laughed, a genuine, uninhibited sound. "You're full of charming lines, aren't you, astrophysicist?" "Only when inspired," he said, taking her hand gently across the table. His thumb stroked the back of her hand, sending shivers down her arm. "What's on your agenda today, Alara? Any more rare cosmic flora to discover?" "Actually," she began, a thoughtful expression on her face, "the ship's head botanist, Dr. Eris Thorne, mentioned a new exhibit in the ship's primary biodome, a collection of hyperdense mosses from the Kepler 186f system. I was planning to go examine them. Sounds fascinating, Liam said, his interest genuine. Mind if I tag along? I've always been intrigued by exobiota, and who better to guide me than an expert? Her smile widened. I'd love that, Liam. Their morning in the biodome was a revelation. Elara, usually reserved, spoke with passion and expertise about the intricate life cycles of the alien mosses, their cellular structures, and their adaptations to different planetary conditions. Liam listened intently, asking insightful questions that showed not just curiosity, but a deep respect for her field. He pointed out the subtle ways gravity and light exposure might affect their growth, offering an astrophysical perspective that Elara found surprisingly complementary to her own. You know, Elara said, as they moved past a display of glowing fungal gardens, I've never really had someone to share this with. Most people just see pretty plants. You see the universe in them. Liam squeezed her hand. And you, Elara, help me see the life within the universe. It's a perfect synergy, wouldn't you say? The days that followed blurred into a tapestry of shared wonder and growing intimacy. They explored the Stardust Wanderer from its panoramic observation decks to its zero-G recreation zones. They stargazed from the ship's highest dome, identifying constellations invisible from Earth, and shared stories of their pasts, Elara's quiet, solitary life dedicated to research. He spoke of the thrill of discovery, the vastness that humbled him, and the unexpected loneliness that sometimes accompanied it. She spoke of the delicate balance of life, the resilience of nature, and her long-held dream of seeing truly wild, untouched alien ecosystems. One afternoon, during a simulated asteroid field navigation experience, their hands brushed as they steered a virtual shuttle through a dazzling, dangerous landscape. A jolt, not from the simulation, but from the electric current passing between them, made them both pause. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the simulated cosmos faded, leaving only the undeniable connection between them. Later that evening, after a particularly engaging lecture on temporal anomalies, they found themselves on a secluded deck overlooking a spiraling galaxy. The soft ambient light at the ship cast long shadows, and the hushed tones of distant conversations created a bubble around them. This journey? Elara began, her voice soft. It feels different now, more meaningful. Liam turned to her, his gaze intense. It is, because I'm sharing it with you. He reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands. His thumbs traced the line of her cheekbones, and Elara leaned into his touch, her heart thrumming. Elara, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I feel like I've been wandering the cosmos for so long, looking for something I couldn't quite name. And then I found you. You're my anchor, my constellation. He leaned in, and this time, their kiss was not just a spark, but a gentle, burning flame. It was a kiss of deep understanding, of shared dreams, and of a future unfolding. It was a promise, whispered on the silent currents of starlight. As their relationship deepened, Elara found herself shedding layers of her carefully constructed solitude. She laughed more freely, spoke her mind openly, and found a joy in companionship she hadn't realized she was missing. Liam, in turn, seemed to thrive in her presence, his quiet thoughtfulness balanced by a newfound lightness. However, the universe, even a carefully curated one, like the Stardust Wanderer, had its way of introducing unexpected variables. A message flashed across the ship's public comms. A rare celestial phenomenon, a transient wormhole opening near a previously uncharted exoplanet, was detected. The ship's course was being altered for a closer look. This exoplanet, designated Silas 7, was rumored to possess unique atmospheric conditions, potentially fostering highly unusual organic life forms. Excitement rippled through the ship, especially among the scientific community. Among them was Dr. Eris Thorne, the head botanist, who approached Elara with an offer. Elara, your expertise in extremophile flora is unparalleled. We're assembling a small team for a preliminary remote scan of Xylos 7's surface. Would you be willing to lead the botanical analysis? It was a dream opportunity, the kind of scientific expedition Elara had always yearned for. But as Dr. Thorne continued, a familiar shadow began to creep in. It will be demanding, of course. Long hours in the lab, intense data analysis, collaborating closely with the astrobiologists and geologists. It will require your full, undivided attention. He eyed Liam, who was standing a little ways off, having been discussing the wormhole's gravitational effects with a colleague. No distractions. Elara felt a familiar internal conflict. Her passion for science warred with the blossoming joy she'd found with Liam. She hadn't realized how much she'd started to intertwine her personal life with her professional one. This was a rare chance, but the idea of pushing Liam aside, even temporarily, for her work felt wrong. Liam, ever observant, noticed the subtle shift in her demeanor. Later that evening, as they watched the distant, shimmering portal of the wormhole expand, he asked, "Something on your mind, Elara? You seem conflicted." She explained Dr. Thorne's offer and her apprehension. "It's what I've always wanted, Liam, to be at the forefront of discovery. But Aris made it clear it would be all-consuming, and I don't want to lose what we found." Liam listened patiently, his hand gently resting on her arm. "Elara," he said softly, "your passion for your work is one of the things I admire most about you. You shouldn't ever dim your light for anyone, especially not for me. This is your chance to shine." "But what about us?" she asked, her voice tinged with a vulnerability she rarely showed. He smiled, a reassuring warmth in his eyes. "We're not so fragile, Elara. We're built on something stronger than shared walks and dinners. We're built on respect, on understanding, on a shared wonder for the universe. We can navigate this. I can help. I can support you. I can even contribute, if you'll have me." He paused. "My own expertise in planetary environments and atmospheric composition might even be useful for your analysis, if you're open to it." His words were a balm to her soul, a quiet affirmation of their bond. He wasn't asking her to choose, but offering a way to have both. He was offering partnership, not possession. The next few days were a flurry of activity. Elara immersed herself in the remote analysis of Silas 7. True to his word, Liam was her steadfast support. He didn't hover, but he was always there, bringing her coffee late into the night, offering his astrophysical insights into the planet's unique radiation patterns that might affect plant life, or simply sitting beside her, a quiet, comforting presence as she analyzed complex data streams. His ability to distill complex astronomical data into comprehensible factors for her botanical analysis proved invaluable. He helped her understand why certain regions might harbor different flora, given the stellar wind and gravitational forces at play. One evening, after days of intense work, Elara made a breakthrough. She identified a unique spectral signature in Isla 7's lower atmosphere, indicative of a previously unknown type of chlorophyll, capable of photosynthesizing under extreme radiation. It was a groundbreaking discovery, promising new insights into the resilience of life itself. She burst out of the lab exhilarated to find Liam waiting for her. "I did it, Liam. I found it. A new form of photosynthesis." He enveloped her in a triumphant hug, lifting her off her feet. "I knew you would, Elara. You're brilliant." Their shared success solidified something profound between them. They weren't just two individuals falling in love. They were two minds, two hearts, intertwined in a shared pursuit of knowledge and wonder. As the Stardust Wanderer began its final approach back to Earth's orbital station, a bittersweet feeling settled over Elara. The journey was ending, but their journey was just beginning. One last evening, Liam led her to a rarely visited section of the ship, a small glass-domed observatory usually reserved for private viewing. He had arranged it specially. Inside, the lights were dimmed, and the dome offered an unobstructed, breathtaking view of the Milky Way, sprawling across the cosmic canvas like a river of diamonds. Earth was a distant, serene blue marble in the corner of the view. "Elara," Liam began, his voice soft, yet resonating with conviction. "You once told me you weren't looking for a destination, but a journey. And I realized that's what I've been searching for too. A journey with someone who makes every star brighter, every discovery more profound." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, intricately carved wooden box. It wasn't opulent but rustic and beautiful. He opened it, revealing not a ring, but a delicate silver pendant shaped like a tiny, stylized galaxy with a single, shimmering blue opal at its center, reminiscent of the bioluminescent fruit he'd brought her for breakfast that first morning. This isn't a commitment to a specific place, Alara, because I know your heart yearns for the unknown. This is a commitment to a shared journey, wherever the cosmos may take us. It's a promise to explore, to discover, to wonder, hand in hand, heart to heart. Will you continue this journey with me, Alara? Will you be my co-explorer, my partner in every cosmic adventure? Tears welled in Alara's eyes, a joyful cascade. This was everything she hadn't known how to ask for. A love that understood her, celebrated her independence, and amplified her dreams. Yes, Liam, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. 1,000 times yes. He gently took the pendant from the box and fastened it around her neck. The cool metal settled against her skin, and the opal glowed softly, mirroring the stars around them. He then took both her hands, his gaze unwavering. There's something else. My contract with the Stellar Cartography Guild is nearing its end. I've been offered a position as lead astrophysicist on a long-term exploratory mission, charting newly discovered exoplanets, some of which are rumored to have unique biospheres. He squeezed her hands. It's a multi-year mission, and I've already put in a word for a lead exobotanist, if you're interested. Alara's breath hitched. It was the perfect confluence of their dreams. A joint mission, a shared future, an endless canvas of discovery. Interested? She repeated, a wide, radiant smile spreading across her face. Liam, I'm more than interested. I'm ready. Ready to explore the universe, ready to discover new worlds, ready to build a life with you, among the stars. He pulled her into a tender embrace, their bodies fitting together as if they were two pieces of a cosmic puzzle. Their kiss was a symphony of starlight and love, a silent vow exchanged under the watchful eyes of a billion galaxies. The Stardust wanderer docked at Earth's orbital station a few days later. As Alara and Liam disembarked, hand in hand, they looked back at the magnificent vessel that had brought them together. It was no longer just a cruise ship, it was the birthplace of their love, the launching pad for their shared destiny. Their bags were packed, not for a return to old lives, but for a new beginning. The universe was vast, full of untold wonders, and they were ready to face it, together. Alara, with her heart overflowing with hope, and a love as boundless as the cosmos itself, knew that this was not an ending, but the start of an infinite adventure. Hand in hand, they stepped onto the transport to their next ship, ready to chase the Stardust, wherever it might lead them. The stars beckoned, not as distant, impersonal lights, but as a map of their shared future, written in the shimmering script of destiny. And as they looked out at the endless expanse, they knew, with absolute certainty, that their love story was just beginning, a beautiful, heartwarming saga, unfolding across the vast, wondrous tapestry of the universe.